What's been the most emotionally challenging moment in your journey?
So I took a GED test, and by guessing, I passed this thing. This is like a miracle. Then I tried to go to college, a junior college, and I failed.
And now, my mind boggles as well when you say you read 31,000 books. Now, you've been doing this for best part of half of a century.
My typical day was 4 to 7 books in the morning. There was no option. We're going forward. I was speed reading a book every 45 minutes on average. And so I could read, 19 books in a weekend very commonly.
And you actually help people to get clear and become unstoppable in that way. So what can people expect if they attend a session like that with you? Welcome to Leading to Profit. I'm your host, Kevin Bees, and I've dedicated my career to empowering business leaders like you with the leadership skills, performance psychology they need to build thriving businesses. Are you ready for immediately actionable strategies from world-class profit leaders? Let's dive in. This is Leading to Profit. Welcome to episode number 250. As we step into 2025, it's the perfect time to focus on leadership in both business and life. And there's no better guest to guide us than today's extraordinary speaker. Backed by very popular demand, we have with us Dr. John DeMartini, one of the world's leading authorities on human behavior and personal development. Dr. DeMartini is the founder of the DeMartini Institute, a global research and education organization that has inspired millions across the globe. With over 4 decades of cross-disciplinary research, more than 40 published books are now translated into 40 languages, and countless speaking engagements around the world, Dr. DeMartini's insights have empowered leaders, entrepreneurs, and individuals to unlock their potential and lead with purpose. In our last conversation, Dr. DeMartini shared profound insights on aligning with our highest values and overcoming life's greatest challenges. Today, as we embark on a new year, we're diving deep into the heart of leadership, how to lead with clarity, purpose, and vision. We'll also explore his upcoming Master Planning and Life Workshop, a powerful tool for anyone looking to strategically plan their life and leadership in 2025 and beyond. Get ready for an inspiring conversation that could very well change the course of your year and your life. Dr. DeMartini, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, here we are at the start of 2025, and I'd love to ask you, we're at the beginning of a new year. Why is that the ideal time for leaders to reassess their strategies and align them with their values?
Well, every human being, regardless of gender or age or anything, live moment by moment by a set of priorities and values. And whatever is highest on their value, they're intrinsically inspired spontaneously to act on it. And they're most effective and efficient there. And they have the highest probability of making objective goals instead of fantasies. And they have the highest probability of sustaining and persisting in the achievement of it and building incremental momentum towards a sustainable outcome. So prioritizing at the beginning of the year and setting sail as captain of your ship and master of your fate, you might say, and directing the show is to our advantage. Now, I do it daily. I work on my master plan for life daily, but at least once a year, that's a good start. But there's no harm in doing that on a quarterly update and a semi-annually and as frequently as monthly. The more frequently you reconnect to what's priority, higher the probability of building an incremental momentum achievements.
I love that. And you do it on a daily basis. For those of us who maybe aren't doing it as regularly, where's somewhere that we can start? How should we identify these values and make sure they are aligned so that we are intrinsically inspired to work towards them?
Well, I'll share a couple little things that I found real useful. Many years ago, I spoke for Mary Kay Cosmetics Company, and I had about 4,500 women in the Anatole at Dallas in a convention center there. And after I spoke, I had the opportunity to meet with Mary Kay Ash, the founder. And I asked her, this is 40 years ago, I asked her, what advice could you give a young man? At the time, I was around 30. What advice can you give a young man who aspires to travel the world and be, an inspiration in speaking and things of this nature? And she said, every day, sit in silence and contemplate what is truly the highest priority actions you can conceive of that day to achieve that which is most important, meaningful, and inspiring. And I would get an index card back then. That's how I did it. This is before the internet. I got an index card, and I had them in my pocket, and I used them for taking notes, and anytime that was on my mind, I had those available. But I would stop, and I'd write down the 7 highest priority actions I can do today that'll help me fulfill what's most meaningful to me. And I kept that card, and I prioritized it, and I made sure it was only objectives for the day. So I didn't have goal overrun where I was accumulating incomplete goals all the time. Just action steps that if I did that day, it would move me one step closer to my objectives. And then I kept those cards in boxes. And after a while, I accumulated a lot of those boxes, a couple of years worth. And then I took the card out one by one, wrote down the 7 things, tossed the card. Took the next card out, wrote down the 7 things, and anywhere where there was the duplicate, I'd put a line, next to it. I'd throw the card. I'd take the next card, line. And I'd go, and I just kept doing it, and I found out what was the highest priorities of the highest priority actions that I kept contemplating and finding out. And then I found out that there were some that were literally regularly the highest priorities that were off the chart. It ended up being 5s and 5s and 5s and 5s and 5s, line, slash, line, slash. It kept repeating. And I realized the thing that repeated most frequently is obviously the most consistent, highest priority thing I could be doing. Now, in the process of doing it, I knew for me, it was teach, research, write, travel. For me, that was my objective because I was a professional speaker. So then I realized that if I don't delegate everything else and stick to what's highest in priority and dedicate what's highest in priority and delegate anything else, I'm going to interfere with the momentum building achievements I can go after. So I did that, and I prioritized my life, and I don't do anything else but teach, research, write, and travel. I've delegated to specialists, everything else. But that is a very important component because what that does is it keeps the blood glucose notch in the forebrain, where you have your executive function, where you have more self-governance, a more expanded space and time horizons, and more clarity of vision, and more strategic spontaneous action, and more perseverance. And you're less likely to be distracted by impulses and instincts of the amygdala, which take you off on tangents, and you're more likely to build a radial growth and expansion of your potential. So I prioritize, and I tell people to prioritize it. If you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, your day is going to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. If you don't pursue challenges in the world, which are problems that the world needs solving, and pursue challenges that inspire you to solve, you're going to keep attracting challenges that don't. And so this is a key element that, it's so simple. If we don't negentropize our body and our life, we end up with entropy breaking us down. And the entropy that breaks us down and causes distractions is a feedback to let us know we're not prioritizing and being authentic to what's meaningful.
I love that. Be authentic to what's meaningful. A real great soundbite there. Pursue challenges that the world needs solving. And now for you, that's very clear. Teach, research, write, travel. For anyone else listening, is going to be different. We're all different. We all have different values. And I guess, I could just say, hey, well, I love that. I'm going to do what Dr. DeMartini does. But of course, that's not going to allow me to express who I am.
That's why on my website, I have a complimentary, free, private value determination process. I started studying values in 1978. And I read everything that was available on axiology, the study of value and worth, because I found out when I asked myself, what is the key to walking your talk, not limping your life? Why do some people achieve and why some people don't? Without a question, it boiled down to that was the most significant thing one could master, is the hierarchy of their values and be truthful to themselves. Their ontological identity revolves around the highest value. Their epistemological area of expertise revolves around it, and their teleological purpose is an expression of it. So once I defined that, I found that most of the things I found on determining your values or whatever were weak. They're ideals. What Nietzsche said is what we ought to be instead of who we are. And the ought to is a bunch of social ideals and moral hypocrisies instead of what your life demonstrates you're truly committed to. So I had to create a value determination process from all these years that was more objective to the individual instead of trying to collectivize values into an ideal that everybody's supposed to follow. Instead of making people fit in and conforming, I was interested in what is truthful to them so they could be a normist, not conformist. And the process of doing that, if they go online and they do that on drdemartini.com, it's free, it's private, and it's an eye-opener. Because then you can start structuring your life around what your life demonstrates is important, not what you fantasize. And many people fantasize, I want to be financially independent, I want to do this, I want to do that. But that's not what their life is demonstrating. And so they keep banging their head against the wall, searching for fantasies. And the Buddha said something really beautiful 2,600 years ago, supposedly. He said, the desire for that which is unobtainable and the desire to avoid that which is unavoidable is the source of human suffering. And many people are pursuing things that aren't the most deeply meaningful and doing things to fit in instead of stand out. And they're basically conforming and deluding themselves instead of empowering themselves by honoring the magnificence of their uniqueness.
I love that. Don't try to fit in, stand out by honoring your own uniqueness. And I love that there as well. Be enormous, not conformist. Now, wherever you're listening, click into the show notes. There's a link there to take you straight to that values determination process. And thank you so much for making that available. Now, Dr. DeMartini, along the way, you know, you're living in alignment with your values, but no doubt you've overcome significant challenges in your life. I mean, you know, we understand from what you shared with us before about, you know, your physical impairments, you know, to learning difficulties. What's been the most emotionally challenging moment in your journey? And how did you find the strength to push through?
So I was 18 years old. I knew I wanted to travel the world and teach. I was a high school dropout. I had somewhat illiteracy. And but I knew I wanted to do that. Deep inside. So I took a GED test, and by guessing, I passed this thing. This is like a miracle. And I really saw it as a sign. This is what I'm destined for, right? Because I just passed this by guessing. Then I tried to go to college, a junior college, and I failed. I got a 27 on my first test, and everybody was above 72. I was the only one below, down at 27. And I really had a low moment where I thought, okay, my first grade teacher is accurate. I'll never be able to read, never be able to write, never be able to communicate, never mouth thing, never go very far in life. And I really just saw no light at the end of the tunnel that moment, because I thought, if I can't pass this test with that type of grade, this is never going to work. And I was really sulking underneath this Bible stand in my sunken living room at my parents' house. And my mom came home from shopping and saw me sitting on the floor, laying on the floor, curled up. And she said, "What happened, son? What's wrong?" And I said, "I blew the test. I got a 27. I need a 72. I guess I don't have what it takes. I guess I'll never do this." And she paused. She looked at me. She put her hand on my shoulder. And she said something that was magnificent. She said, "Son, whether you become a great teacher, healer, and philosopher and travel the world like you dream, whether you go back to ride big giant waves in Hawaii, which you've done, or return to the streets and panhandle as a bum, which I also did as a kid, I just want to let you know that your father and I are going to love you no matter what you do." When she said that, I cried on a different note. And her gratitude, her love, her inspiration, her enthusiasm, her certainty, her presence, and the way she delivered that was transformative. And my hand went into a fist, and I looked up and I saw the vision I saw the night I met Paul Bragg, the teacher. I saw this vision of me standing on a balcony in front of 1 million people speaking, which was not something I've ever seen until that night. And I saw that vision again, and I said to myself, I'm going to master this thing called reading, studying, and learning. I'm going to master this thing called teaching, healing, and philosophy. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to travel whatever distance. I'm going to pay whatever price to get my service of love across this planet. And I'm not going to let any human being on this planet, not even myself, interfere with that now. And I got a moment of no turning back. There was no option. We're going forward. I hugged my mom. I went into my room. I got a Funk and Wagnalls dictionary that you got from Kroger's supermarket if you bought $20 worth of food. And I got that dictionary. I went to the first page, the first word, and I started memorizing 30 words a day, spelling them, saying them 20 times, spelling them 20 times, putting them in a sentence, articulating the sentence. And my mom would test me on 30 words a day until my vocabulary grew to 20,000 words over the next 2 years. And I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. And I've not stopped. This is 52 years ago almost. I've not stopped reading every single day and writing every single day since. And today,
very powerful.
Today I can read and write and travel and speak and communicate, and I'm quite wealthy. That's all I can say is that all of those things that I was told I would never be able to do all ended up being powerful motives for drive.
What do you think was the key distinction there? Was it the fact that you knew you were loved no matter what? Was it that you got a vision and created a vision? Or was it that you made a decision? Or was it something else that really allowed you to overcome that challenge and create the success that you have?
I had the vision at 17 when I met Paul Bragg. So that I had. And I thought that was where I was going for those few months until I failed that test. And then it just got shattered because I thought, there's no way I'm going to get over this hump. And then when she said she said, I had this determination of no turning back. I think that determination got me over that hump. And then from that point on, there hasn't been any wavering about, whether that's my mission. I know that's my mission. I mean, I'm pretty clear. If you look at what I do, I put in about 120 hours a week ever since that day towards this objective. Yes. So, part-time work is 100 hours to me towards that objective.
And does it actually feel like work for you? I guess
No.
maybe not.
No. See, when you find out what you spontaneously are inspired to do that nobody has to remind you to do, that you love doing, that you can't wait to get up in the morning and do, when you can't wait to get up in the morning and do it, people can't wait to get it. And that's the way I feel about teaching and research. That's something I just do.
Yeah. No, I read something very similar to this in a book called The Rise of Superman. And they were trying to study and explain why these athletes, these surfers and skateboarders were managing to achieve, so much growth, so much rapid progress. And that was one of the core things. If there was a big wave that day, they didn't need to find motivations to do it. They were inspired to go out and do it. Well,
there was a guy when I lived in Hawaii. I was a big wave rider. So I know some of those surfers. I've been in a big surf book, the High Surf, and Laird Hamilton and stuff. These are guys that I used to surf with. And, Jerry Lopez and Eddie Aikau and all these guys. Those are the guys I surfed with. So I know that world. And the guys that were really committed to surfing surfed. They didn't care. They surfed. They were in the water every day. If there wasn't any surf, they were exploring the bottom of the ocean, memorizing all the coral reefs to know how to fall and how to avoid rocks and where the breaks are going to be and why they're going to break that way. They were committed to the objective. They were working out. They were paddling. They were muscle building. They were doing anything that would give them a competitive advantage to achieve what their aim was. And you can tell, and the average person doesn't do that. It's only the people that are most congruent and most fluent with what they value most that become unstoppable that way. And there are very few people that really do that. Most people have some degree of subordination to the authorities around them instead of the voice and the vision inside them.
And so getting connected with that voice and that vision inside of you, and that's what allows you to become unstoppable. Now, one of the things that you do to help your clients is master planning, master planning workshops. I wonder if you could tell us, what do you take people through during, I think it's like a 3-day process, if I'm not mistaken, and you actually help people to get clear and become unstoppable in that way. So what can people expect if they attend a session like that with you?
Well, master planning was my dream that I started doing when I met Paul Bragg at 17. Because Paul Bragg said, set a goal for yourself, your family, your community, your city, your state, your nation, your world, and beyond for 100 to 120 years. And write down what you want to think, what you want to visualize, what you want to affirm, what you want to feel, what you want to create and act upon that you want as an outcome. So I started writing all that down. It started out as a 1 page, then 2 pages, and 3 pages. I stapled them, then 4 pages, and 5 pages, and 6 pages, and I put them in a sleeve plastic thing. And I just kept building this booklet of how and what I wanted. It had my values, it had my mission statement, it had what my objectives were. It started keeping metrics. It started keeping gratitudes. It started, what standard do I want to live? What's my uniqueness? I just started building my master plan and kept metrics and records of it. If I say I want to read a book, then I kept records of all the books. So it's 31,000 books now. I keep record of all the speaking engagements, every city I wanted to speak at, every country. I mean, I've got all that metriced. It's 9,000 pages today, that text. It's 36 volumes and files in my computer. I take it seriously and I metric everything, because if it's really important to you, you'll metric the progress and you keep refining how do you get there more effectively and efficiently. And so I'm a firm believer in master planning. And so master planning started out just for my own objective. It wasn't something I was out to try to share with anybody or sell with anybody or anything like that. It was just my own strategy for achieving what I wanted. And then people sometimes would see me reading this book and editing it and refining it because I'd print it out. And they said, well, can you teach us whatever you're doing there? And Master Plan was born. And over the years, 52 years, I've been accumulating quality questions, because the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. And if you ask incredible questions, and the ones that bring out your authenticity and bring out equanimity in you, you're automatically going to have an advantage over people who don't do that. So now there's 2,000 questions, and they're focused on business plan, financial plan, family plan, social plan, health plan, mind development plan, spirituality plan. How do you want your life? Because if you don't decide, somebody else decides. Any area of your life you don't empower, other people overpower. And if you don't live by design, you're going to live by duty. You're going to subordinate to the influences of people projecting onto you what they think is important, instead of you taking command and designing your life. So master planning for life is not even an option as far as I'm concerned. And people I find that are really going places have a clarity of vision. Those without a vision perish. But those with a vision, they flourish. And so I'm a firm believer in creating a master plan. So I teach people how I've done it, and they get to see the result, and they get to see the metrics. You can't argue with those true exemplified facts. And so then they see that, it inspires them to begin to take command of their life, because they're just kind of wishy-washy going around thinking they're going to go around to do it. They never really map it out. And most people say, yeah, you want to make God laugh? Tell them your plans. Well, that's because they're setting up fantasies based on comparisons to other people, that they're injecting the values of others and clouding the clarity of their own mission. And they're not really get clear on their values and their mission. And that's the first thing in the master planning process. Get clear exactly what the values are, what the structures of priorities are, what exactly is the mission you're committed to, whatever it is, raising a family or building a giant business or becoming vastly fortunate. Whatever it is, let's get clear about it so we have a strategy, because a strategy transforms fantasies into true objectives and make things happen.
Yes, it's so crystal clear. And now my mind boggles as well when you say you read 31,000 books. Now you've been doing this for best part of half of a century.
My typical day was 4 to 7 books in the morning. I was speed reading a book every 45 minutes on average. And I would, because once I learned to read, I kept excelling on how to do that. And so I could read, 19 books in a weekend very commonly.
Yeah, wow. Okay, I was doing a calculation thinking, how does he get through 2 a day? But 4 to 7 books in a morning, you were highly productive. I doubt there's anyone else who was.
I got up. Well, I used to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock in the morning, do 30 minutes of meditation, yoga, and then 2:30 to 6:30. That's when I read 4 to 7 books. Then I go jog, come back in, shower, go to professional school, go to clinic, come back at 6:55, come in my office, my apartment, and I taught every night from 7 to 10 p.m. in order to pay for it. I was generating about $100,000 a year teaching while I was going to professional school in 1970s, 80s, early 80s. And then what I did is I would go to bed at 10, sleep 4 hours in a meditative kind of state. For 35 years, I did 4 hours a day. And then I got up and I read again. So that was a standard procedure that I did for 35 years.
I wonder if you can tell me about that, because a lot of high achievers that I've met along the way, they have this ability to sleep less. And then, of course, they are way more productive. They get more done than other people. Now, I don't know if this is a belief, but if I slept for 4 hours, I think I'd be a mess. So is it a special gift that some people have, or is it something you can train your body to do?
Well, I can't say that I was doing 4 hours of sleep when I was a teenager surfing. I would probably 7 hours probably on average back then. But I started meditating. I started fasting. I started to get so clear on the mission, and I prioritized my actions on a daily basis, like I said. And so I was basically doing what I loved every day. And that has less entropy in your body, less breakdown that you have to repair. Your forebrain is activated when you're doing that, and your amygdala is not on. I didn't go out and drink. I didn't party. I didn't go out and socialize. I didn't, I did have a girlfriend, but my girlfriend understood me. She was there and she understood my weirdness about it. But I was a man on a mission. I'm not a success or a failure. I don't live in success and failure mentality. I'm just a man on a mission focusing on that. Now, today, I'm 70, okay? So I sometimes get up in the middle of the night and pee. So I sleep a little bit more now than I did when I was all those years. Up until about 60, I was doing fine. But as it started where I'm now, I'm going to get up a couple of times. So that's now stretched that time a bit. But the reality is, and I also don't drink as much water in the evening to prevent that. But that's just life that goes on as you mature, or at least it seems to be. So in the process of doing it, now I sleep a little bit more. I've never done the 7, 8, 9 hour days like some people do. I just can't. I have way too much of that I want to do to be sitting there doing that. And what your body does is it adapts. When you go to boot camp in the Marines or whatever, they only give you 4 hours. They don't give you 10 hours to sleep. And so you adapt, and your biological circadian rhythms and everything else, your chronobiology shifts in order to maximize your sleep patterns and your REM sleeps and things. It readjusts itself. So a lot of it's habit, purely habit. Because I know people that if they can't knock off 15 minutes of their sleep, and then they just do that for a month, and they make that a new habit, and they don't miss it, and then they adapted to it, and then they do another 15 minutes, and all of a sudden they're going, now I got an extra hour out of my life by doing that, and then I get more done. It's an extra hour to myself to just go and contemplate, or to work on a business, or whatever it is you want, to spend time with your kids and family, whatever it is that's priority.
You are shifting my beliefs and thoughts around that, which is very interesting. And I think the important piece that that really comes through for me here is when you're doing things that you're really on purpose and on mission with, then it is less entropy and less breakdown. And of course, then that means you're not going to need as much sleep. So that's super important.
You have every cell in the body releases protein materials that become toxic in the brain. And there's an area of the brain called the astrocytes, which are glial cells that have little footprints that reach out, like little star-shaped little foots on them reaching out. They're astrocytes because of that. And what they do is they make canaliculi that allow proteins to come through these canaliculi to be the lymphatic system to remove waste, to clean out the brain. When you're doing something that's out of duty, you're doing something because you got to do it, have to do it, supposed to do it, should do it, need to do it, got to do it, that kind of thing. Those things constrict and you build up accumulation and you don't clean out the brain. But when you're doing something you're inspired and you're drinking adequate water and you're not filling yourself up with sugar, which gums up the brain, you'd be surprised how much more energy you have. Now, you don't get energy from eating sugar. You get energy from eating wisely.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. And I guess I've certainly seen that, in the past of eating sugar, you have those sugar spikes and then you crash afterwards. Yeah. A year of no processed sugar, and actually the energy and the mood is very different. So I've certainly seen that in real life. Now, I wonder if we can talk a little bit about, you're very certain, you're a man on a mission and you know where you're going, but I do meet leaders along the way and some very senior people you would just think have everything together, but actually even some of these very senior leaders have self-doubt. So maybe, can you share something about that? Maybe there's a time when you've had self-doubt yourself and how you overcome it, or if there is a leader experiencing self-doubt, what they can do to become more confident.
Well, you have a hierarchy of values. In the area of your highest values where you have your most certainty. In the area of your lower values, you don't. So anytime you expect yourself to live in the lower values and try to be somebody you're not, you're going to have self-doubt and uncertainties to try to let you know you're away from priority. It's normal. If I was to cook, I haven't cooked since I was 24 years old, and I haven't driven a car in 34 years. Anything that requires external motivation for me to do, I delegate. And I stick to teach, research, write, travel. So those are my areas of mastery. If I don't have anything else to do, I don't have self-doubt. But if I have to go and if I had to do internet, managing internet or IT or deal with the phone calls or doing banking reconciliations or any of those low priority things, they're important to a business, but they're low priority in my value system. I would be in probably chaos constantly and running stress and probably, because anytime you do things low on your values, you devalue yourself and you doubt yourself. You're designed to, as a feedback to get back up onto priority. It's not a weakness. It's just a feedback and misinterpreted by people. We compare ourselves to others. We think we're supposed to be like them instead of being ourselves. And then we inject those values in our life and try to be that. We cloud ourselves up and then doubt ourselves when we don't try to be somebody we're not. That's why the magnificence of who you are is far greater than any fantasies you'll put on yourself. Don't let fantasies interfere with the authentic you.
Love it. Self-doubt means you're not in alignment with your values. Get
not
back
priority.
On very clear.
When it comes to human behavior, I don't have self-doubt. When it comes to dealing with the internet and some troubleshooting of what's going on with IT, I have a button on my phone, right? Yeah. Done. Take care of it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I need some more buttons like that on my phone with things I don't like to do. So that's very clear. Dr. DeMartini, I'd like to look a little bit to the future of the leadership as well. I mean, we look at what's going on in the world. I know this episode is going out in 2025, but here we are recording it in advance of the US elections. There's a lot of uncertainty there. There's wars. There's massive technological changes coming along with AI. So I wonder, is there some things that we should be thinking about to make sure we're prepared for the things that are coming towards us?
Whatever's highest on your value, if you allow yourself to master that and become so indispensable to planet Earth by doing what you're great at, you won't really be concerned about those things. And then if you realize that AI has come along, then find out how to use AI to maximize the acceleration of what you're up to and just merge with it. Use it to your advantage. I have a friend that started out, about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, something like that. He's up to $30 million now a year generating that in his business. He'll definitely be on his way to being a billionaire. And he's now merging his AI ideas and everything else with what he's doing. He's been unfocused and clear, and he's just taking whatever comes along. Technology, it's just incorporating him into what he's doing. He doesn't have to stop what he's doing. It just keeps incorporating new technology. See, we have teleology, which is our purpose, and we have technology is there to fulfill our purpose. So you bring in technologies to help you fulfill your teleology. That's the game.
Okay, so embrace it, use it. And do you have any visions around that? Because I guess with AI, there would be an ability to take all of the amazing body of work that you created and use AI tools to help even more people.
One of the greatest AI guys lives on the ship I live on. And we've already talking about it. He's already picking my brain and we're already basically downloading bits and pieces. So he wants to find out how to maximize human awareness and maximize AI awareness. So it's no different than human beings in that respect. So yeah, I can contribute to AI and then it can contribute to me. That's the game.
Beautiful. Well, this is great. And I guess as he helps you take your knowledge and your IP and put it into an AI, the next interview I do may be with your bot, your AI version of you rather than you. So
well, but he knows, the guy's very savvy. He knows that we're not at the same level. There's people are all worried about it, and there will be a day when that might come about. And over the last 30 years, it's gotten pretty good. Now we got it pretty clean. It's like 99%. Well, AI is not there yet. I have no anxiety about AI at this moment, but it will come and it will keep growing. So you just keep incorporating it into your life.
Keep incorporating it. That's amazing. Hey, so that was looking at the future. I'd like to look back over the length of your career. You've had such an amazing accomplishments, done so many things. Maybe is there a moment that as you look back over everything that you've done, the service that you've given people, is there something that brings you chills or something brings tears to your eyes, knowing like that happened and you were part of that?
I don't have a day pretty well that doesn't go by. I have that every day. Gamma synchronicities, eureka moments are when you can do it. I keep a record. In fact, you are already on the record. I've already typed you in, and it's on there. I could show it to you. You already typed in there. They had the opportunity to do your podcast, to be on your show today. So I keep records of everything I get to do on a daily basis, and I don't have a day that doesn't have something that has a tear of gratitude. Because if you're not having tears of gratitude, you're inauthentic. That's a basic rule of life. The tears of gratitude, the gamma synchronicities, when the delta and beta waves are coming into alpha theta waves, and you're creating a gamma synchronicity in the brain, which has an impact on synchronicities of other people. If you're not having that, somehow you're doing low priority things and you're not being authentic. And that's a confirmation of authenticity, that state. Everybody who knows that state and has a tear of inspiration, they know that it's meaningful, they know they better listen to it, and they know to follow it. Because we know innately that state. So there's a science on recreating it. There's a science of asking questions to liberate it and bring it into reality. And so I live that science pretty well every day. So I document something to be grateful for on a daily basis. Because I was born on Thanksgiving Day. If you're grateful for what you get more to be grateful for.
Love it. It's so good. And I don't experience that tear of gratitude every day, but I had one of those moments recently. It's something I'd been working on for maybe 15 years, and it finally clicked. It had gone well. And, I had this realization, like that thing that I set as a challenge 15 years ago, like now it's come to fruition, now it's happening. And I think in that moment, I must have been having what you call, this authentic, being authentic, and, the tears came down. So I think it's a wonderful thing for us to work towards more frequently. If we're not not experiencing that, how do we have that gratitude on a more frequent basis? And your method is great. Write it down.
When you prioritize your life and stick to the top priorities, you tend to want to pursue challenges that inspire you, and you wake up philanthropic objectives to make a contribution to people. And it's when you do something that is meaningful, that makes a difference in people's lives, you increase the probability of having those states. But you try to do a narcissistic or an altruistic polarity instead of a syntheistic, you're not going to have those experiences, because you're going to learn that those are unsustainable. The thing that's sustainable is having sustainable, fair exchange and be remunerated for doing a contribution that people value.
Bingo. And that was it. That's what caused me to tear, because it was definitely something in service of other people. And there was a recognition that it had become valuable for people.
We maximize our fulfillment to the degree that we fill our lives full with contribution and making a difference in people. We think we can avoid that, but we can't. That's why people that are not doing what they love on a daily basis, and they're wanting to get a break, and they're wanting to get a vacation, they want to escape, they want to retire, they want to get away from it, they missed out, because life was really about fulfilling that which is meaningful. That's what makes us different than the animals.
There it is. I mean, you can wrap everything up in that statement right there. It's so powerful. Now, I know I can keep asking you questions all day long, and you wouldn't run out of amazing insights to share with me, but I know I need to get you back to the rest of your day. So if you're listening, then click in the show notes wherever you are. I'd love to get you along to this master planning workshop that Dr. DeMartini has been sharing with us today. And Dr. DeMartini, do you have any final messages that you would like to share with the listeners today?
Yeah. Give yourself permission to be you. Don't try to be second at being somebody else. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Compare your daily actions to your own highest value, and take the time to determine what that is so you can prioritize your life. And just know that first you'll be ridiculed, then you'll be violently opposed. You'll then get to a lot of resistance, because everybody wants to project their values onto you and get you to live in their values to make you conform and fit in, so they don't have to be stretched and then have to deal with their own insecurities. And then by doing that, they will eventually recognize you as a self-evident, self-actualized exemplification of what's possible.
There you go. Give yourself permission to be you. So wherever you're listening, make sure you click in those show notes, get yourself along to one of the amazing opportunities that Dr. DeMartini shared, and even click in and take the free values assessment, because if there's anything I take out of this call, it's a good opportunity to go back and identify what are your values and make sure you're living in alignment with those, in alignment with your values and who you are and your expression of who you are, not what someone else is. So Dr. DeMartini, thank you so much. I am so grateful.
Thank you. I could say the same. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you for tuning in to Leading to Profit. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. It helps us to reach more leaders like you who are committed to maximizing their positive impact and profitability. Until next time, this is Kevin Lees, and remember, you stop leaking profit when you're engaged in leading to profit.